Welcome to the Best Believe podcast. I'm your host, Michaela. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am so blessed and grateful that I get to be here. It has been a minute, and I just want to apologize ahead of time because I was so inconsistent with this podcast this entire year. And the thing is, I really truly believe that this happened because of fear. The fear of showing up on here, talking in front of the camera. But the Lord has done some work on my heart. And so I'm just grateful to be here and go 100% and just make sure I show up every single week in 2025. And so I just want to thank you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for continuing to show up and listen to the past episodes because I've been looking and you guys have been on it. And I'm just so grateful and blessed to have such an amazing community. And if this is your first time tuning in, this podcast is all about the journey to our dreams. So we're working towards what God chose us to do together. And the thing is, I don't want this to be like me talking at you, but this is us just communicating as if we're on the phones, as if we're friends at the coffee shop, whatever the case may be. So I'm just really excited to be here. I really did miss you guys, and I love communicating with you on my social media platform. So if you don't know, we have a podcast page, which is Best Believe Podcast. And then we have my personal page, which is Michaela Inspires. And then for all of my OG listeners, you know about the Best Believe Journal. We launched with a company called Made by the Word. And I'm just so excited that we were able to bring this to life. I mean, these journals are just so transformative, and I've heard so many amazing things from people. This is what the inside looks like. So if you're listening on audio, just know that I have so many pictures and videos online, so don't worry about it. But again, this year has been something else, and that leads me into what we're talking about today, and that is the lessons I wish someone told me before the new year. So I've went through so many amazing things, and I've went through so many very hard things this year. And so I'm really excited to go through these 24 lessons. Let's get right into it. Lesson number 1, you don't need to have everything figured out to start, just do it. And so the reason why I say this is because a lot of us will do so much research. We will read all the books. We will try to figure out everything we need to know before we actually start instead of just starting and figuring it out. So it's like you subconsciously procrastinate starting out of fear or just out of feeling like you need to have it absolutely perfect the first time you do it. And so I think the most important thing is to take imperfect action and to take messy action versus feeling like you have to have it all together to start. Because if I did that, most of the things that happened this year wouldn't have happened. And that is what happened with talking on camera. I was fearful and I felt like I needed to just be the best as soon as I got on, and that's just not the case. And God will give you the grace, and He will give you the strength, and He will give you the courage to show up as you continue to show up imperfectly. And just know that the more you show up, the more clarity you'll have. And this is something that I discussed with one of my friends yesterday. She has been saying, like, I don't really know what to do. I just don't know what to do. And I'm like, I had to give her some tough love. I said, girl, you know what to do. We've talked about this before. You know what to do. You just don't want to do it. Do it imperfectly. Just do it. Just start. You're literally delaying things because of the fact you want to look everything up ahead of time. And of course, it's good to prepare, but then it becomes a point where, okay, I have been preparing for 6 months now. Why don't I just start and allow myself to learn things along the way? Lesson number 2, the first battle of the day starts with your mind. You get to choose how you respond. And so you can wake up and you'll have the distraction, or you'll have all these thoughts and clutter going on in your mind. You get to decide how you respond. And so I think it's important to start the day with purpose, intention, and clarity. And so we do that by starting our day, filling our mind with God's word. And so some habits that I've learned that have really helped me choose and just live a better lifestyle is to wake up and read the word. And that is to wake up and pray out loud, not in my mind, but like I had to build the habit up of putting a timer on my phone for 10 minutes to start praying. And then over time, I realized, wow, like I could pray way longer than this. But the first time, it just kind of was scary. Also, journaling. I use the Best Believe journal. You can use any type of journal. But the thing is, just it's the power of choice. The first battle of the day starts with your mind. So when you wake up, you get to choose if you reach for your phone. You get to choose if you reach for your Bible. You get to choose if you wake up dreading the day, or you wake up saying, today is going to be a great day. God, I thank you and I trust you for whatever is going to happen. So that's two different types of mindsets that you have. And so I would say that is my lesson, that I have the power to choose how my day goes, despite what is happening around me, despite the circumstances and the unexpected things that pop up. I have the power to decide how I'm going to respond to that. And that starts with prepping my mind the second that I wake up in the morning with healthy, holy habits. Lesson number 3, God is always on time. And I've heard Alios explain this so good. And I just want to share it with you. It's basically like when you're at a coffee shop and you're waiting for your friend to come and you're expecting them to come at, let's say, 1 o'clock. It's 12:55, you're waiting. It's 12:58, you're waiting. Right at 1 on the dot, your friend walks in. And so that's just how God is. We feel like he is not going to show up for us, but he always does. He is always on time. And so remembering this allows us to not move in a hurry, or to not move in our own time, or to not sit and sulk, but always be prepared, because God is going to show up. It's just a matter of when. When is he going to show up? And we don't know. But the thing is, when we stay ready, we don't have to get ready. And an example of this is when I launched the Best Believe journals, we were doing pre-orders. And what I was doing was selling the pre-orders in order to pay for the full amount so that I didn't have to come out of pocket because I didn't have the money at the time. So what I did was do the pre-orders, and there was a specific date that all of the money had to be turned in so that the shipment could come to Dallas and it was out of the country. So what happened is I showed up and I posted and I prayed and I had faith, and I was like, God, it was 2 weeks left. That week I had 1 order and I still needed like 25 journals to be sold in order to pay for the full amount. And I genuinely didn't have the money in my bank account. So what did I do? I just prayed. And I texted everyone I knew and I said, can you please pray for this? And if you know someone who may need this journal, like, it is going to help them. And I know it is. And I believe in this journal. And so I reached out to people. I asked people to share it on their page. What happened is beyond me. In the last 3 days, I received that entire 25 plus orders. And I had the money at the exact time. And so I say this to say that I felt like, okay, we need to get the orders by a certain date. We need to make sure we're helping these people by a certain date. But the thing is, the Lord used that quote unquote delay, because it's not technically delay, but in my eyes, in the natural, it can seem like it's delay. He used that time to strengthen my faith. He used that time to do something within me that in return just allowed me to depend on him even more. And then look what he did. He showed up. He always shows up. So lesson number 4, there is power in rest. When I'm rested, I have more energy to pour into everything else. And resting physically and spiritually is so powerful and much needed. I promise you, there are so many times where I just feel like I want to do all these things. Like, I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. And I feel like I became like this because I'm so passionate about it. I remember being in the world and I didn't rest out of 1, fear, 2, because I hated everything that I was doing. And I was like, well, this is the only way I'm going to make money. So I just like have to do it. Like, I forced myself And so when it comes to working now, I don't view it as work. I view it as, this is what I love. This is what I was born to do. And just a side nugget is that when you're doing what you're created to do, you get energy doing it. Like, you feel more energy doing the thing than not doing the thing. And so let's just say you're doing something and you don't feel energy, you feel more drained. At that point, you need to sit and pray and be like, God, is this what I'm supposed to do? Am I just doing too much? Am I doing this in my own strength? Like, there's a bunch of questions you could ask, but that's besides the point. Resting is so powerful, and I've truly been learning how to rest. I've been learning, like, okay, I really need to not work so hard. I need to do like the basic things that I need to do, and then I need to pray and allow God to lead my day and guide me on what's my next step. What do I need to do next? And instead of just feeling like I have this entire list that I need to get done and I need to do it as soon as possible, which one creates so much pressure. And then two, it's like, God never said to do that. And it's like, there will always be another task that you can do, especially if you're a business owner, you can kind of relate. Especially if you're a content creator, you can relate. There's always another task that you could do. Like, I'm sure I could think of 100 things and write it down and be like, oh my gosh, I have so many things to do. But if you find yourself trying to take a rest day and all you can think about is work, or let's say you're reading your Bible and all you can think about is work or the things that you haven't done, that means you need to prioritize rest. You need to work on quieting your thoughts, quieting your mind, and you do that, one, by getting in the secret place with God, and two, you can do that with meditation. Of course, biblically meditating, because his word says to meditate on the word. And so when I say that, of course, you can meditate with music. I have to be clear with this stuff, because people will take that and run with it and talk about manifestation, things like that. And manifesting is not a thing of God. Like, you're trying to do it in your own power and your own strength. Anyways, I could go on a tangent talking about that, so we're not going to talk about that today. Lesson number 5, just because I've lost what I feel like will get me there doesn't mean God has. I say this because I had my camera stolen and I didn't realize it at the time, but I kind of put my camera as an idol. Like, I loved my camera and I was like, ooh, this is the thing that's going to get me there. So when it was stolen, I was just distraught because I'm like, dang, like, that's what I used every single day. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then my mentor, Kaya, she reminded me, like, you think that was supposed to take you to the next place, but in reality, that wasn't. God was. And you feel like you lost the thing that was supposed to take you, but God never did. And so just to have that mindset and clarity on a situation where I did lose something that I use a part of my business and a part of my job, but at the end of the day, the camera doesn't matter, because what God said, it will happen. And if he promised me something, there is no thing that can be taken away from me that's going to take away the blessing that he has for me. Forgive me if I'm talking too fast. I'm trying not to be nervous. I just care about this so much, and it's my first podcast episode where I'm genuinely staring in the camera. And I know I did one before this, but I never posted it. So you let me know. Should I repost all of the video ones I took? I really took them as practice. I didn't intend on actually posting them. Lesson number 6, busy doesn't equal effective. So you could be busy doing things that don't actually move the needle forward. Does that make sense? So just because you're busy, your schedule is full, doesn't mean you're effective. It doesn't mean you're efficient. In business, I could have 1,000 tasks, or let's just be realistic. I could have 20 tasks written down, and if I'm not focusing on the 80% that will actually move me forward, and I put my focus on the little tasks because the bigger tasks are intimidating me or whatever, that 20% doesn't move the business forward. The 80% does. And a lot of the things that we're running from are the things that are actually going to help us grow and allow things to move. So that's why I say busy doesn't equal effective. Lesson number 7, unlearning is a part of the becoming. So we are becoming the person that God destined us to be. And with that, that takes a transitional process. That takes the becoming. So you have your current reality, and then you have where God destined you to be. And there's like a line in between of the journey and the road of how we're going to get there. And so when you're becoming, you're unlearning along the way. There are so many things that I had to unlearn this year. And if I knew that ahead of time, then it wouldn't have felt so just, I don't even know how to explain it. It's kind of like you're losing a piece of you. But the thing is, that was never a part of you. That got attached to you from being in the world. And because you're living life with the Lord now, he's trying to remove everything that is not like him off of you. Because we are made in his image. So if you have fear based off of something that happened in your childhood, he's trying to remove that off of you. So let's say you're scared to go up to people and talk to them when he asks you to go. Okay, you don't want to do it out of fear, maybe because when you were younger, when you went up to someone, they denied you or they did something to you. So it has this like trigger and you're just like scared and nervous in it. And it makes you not want to go talk to that person that God told you to talk to. And so he's trying to shed those things off of you, and he'll put you in situations in order to grow you. Lesson number 8, being called higher demands more. So when God's moving you from one season to another, one place to another, when he's calling you higher, he's demanding more. He demands more intimacy. He demands more time in the secret place. He demands more time in preparation. He demands more time seeking Jesus. He demands you lowering yourself. He demands surrendering. There are so many things that when God is calling you higher, he needs you to go deeper. He needs you to give more because he is trying to do something in your life that he needs your partnership with. And so if you're not willing to surrender, if you're not willing to spend time with the Lord, you say you want something and he's trying to give it to you, but you won't take the steps to get there. You won't allow him to do a work in your heart. And so if I would have known this, oh my gosh, I feel like I just would have approached this year way different than I did. I feel like it wasn't until the end of this year that God like snapped me out of it. And I was like, okay, you're calling me higher. And now I'm in the secret place. I'm praying. I'm seeking him wholeheartedly. And I didn't really understand what that meant. His word says, seek me wholeheartedly and you will find me. Yes, you will find me, says the Lord. I had to decide, am I going to give him half of my heart and receive half or maybe none of what he's trying to give me? Or am I going to give him my whole heart and allow him to do a work within me? I don't want to live where I'm living in the same circumstance that I'm in. I want to improve. I know that you have great plans for me and I want that. So just having that understanding that when God takes you higher, sometimes it's going to cause you to give up something, whether it's your time, your sleep, your fun moments that you have with your friends. Like, it demands that. Lesson number 9, not everyone is going to support you on the journey towards your dreams. This is very important to know because I believe a lot of people don't start things out of them feeling like they're not going to have support, or maybe you've shared with someone that you have a dream and you believe this is what God's telling you to do, and people will talk that dream down, or people will just say you're crazy. Sister, the amount of people who have called me crazy, who laughed at me in my face when I told them my dream, The people who just side-eyed me and thought that I was faking my, journey with the Lord. Like, so many people. The amount of followers I lost on Instagram because I started sharing my faith. I just had to remember that even if no one supports me, I know that God validates me because he called me to do it. And so if he called me to do it, then that must mean he has a divine plan to get me to where I'm going. And that first starts with relying only on him to say this is for you versus the external validity of other people, basically. And even when I dropped the Best Believe journals, I had friends and people that I thought, were friends. They didn't support me. They didn't share it. They didn't like it. They didn't buy it. Of course, I had a great amount of people who did. But then it's like the people closest to you may not support you, but you cannot let that stop you. Strengthen your mind. Know that God validates you. That sentence in itself, those 3 words, changed my entire year. God validates me. So I'm going to show up and do what I need to do, knowing that God validates me. I'm going to show up even when I don't feel like it, even when I don't feel worthy enough, even when I don't feel qualified enough, because God validates me. And I may not feel like I did it in the best way possible, but God validates me. So those 3 words are like engraved in my mind, and I want you to engrave them in your mind and your heart. Write it down, remember it, because that mindset changes how you show up. Ooh, it changes how you show up. It changed how I show up. That's how I decided, okay, God validates me. I'm showing up on camera. If I don't look the best, if I don't sound the best, that's fine. He validates me. Lesson number 10. Being marked by God doesn't exclude you from trials. Expect them. The enemy knows the calling on your life before you fully understand yet. There's a verse in Luke, and it says Satan is trying to sit you out like wheat. So I want you to be aware of the bait. I'm actually going to go ahead and read that verse to you because I read it yesterday, and it's so powerful. It is so powerful. Okay, it is Luke 22:31 through 32. Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift each of you like wheat, but I have pleaded in prayer for you, Simon, that your faith should not fail. So when you have repented and turned to me again, strengthen your brothers. This verse is so powerful because it shows us what Satan is trying to do. He is trying to sift us like wheat. He is trying to get us to take the bait. He has a hook in the water and he's waiting for us to grab it. So my encouragement is to take that bait. Like, you see the bait, but that don't mean grab it. You may really want it. It may look good, but bring that to prayer. Bring that desire you have to the Lord, and just know that when we go through these trials, it, for one, is building our faith, and it's showing you that God is there for you. And when you have favor on your life, when you are anointed, the enemy is going to try to get you to turn around. The enemy is going to try to get you to quit because he does not want you to succeed. What I recently realized is that when the Lord saved me, when he saved my life, when I was the messiest, disgustingest part of myself, disgusting is such a strong word. So, okay, I wasn't disgusting, but I was just not who I am now. And the Lord saw this version of me way back then, when I was living in sin, when I was in the world, when I did things that I am not proud of. He saw who I am right now, sitting in front of this camera talking to you. He saw that part of me back then when I couldn't see it. And so it just reminds me that
Try not to get distracted by this very important message, but if you're anything like me, you know what it feels like to have so many different things going on in your life that it's easy to lose focus on your faith and your God given dreams. That's exactly why I created the Best Believe Journal. It's more than just a journal, it's a daily guide designed to help you seek God first and walk in your destiny, even with a busy schedule. In just 5 to 10 minutes a day, you'll notice just how much your thoughts will evolve and elevate, leading to real change, deeper fulfillment, and more intentional living. Everything that I use on my journey to help me live in true fulfillment is inside this journal, knowing that it will do the same for you. Whether you're a busy professional, a mom, or just someone who's ready to step into their God-given authority, this journal was created for you. If you're ready to say yes to a more intentional and fulfilling life, know Made by the Word is here to help you get there. Visit madebytheword.com to grab the Best Believe Journal for you and a friend and start becoming the person you were always destined to be. That's madebytheword.com, madebythe word.com. I love you. Now back to the show.
When I'm in a trial, I can't see what the Lord is doing on my behalf behind the scenes. I cannot see it. But the goal is to see things from the spirit and not look in the natural. And so you just want to make sure to have faith during these trials, knowing that it is going to work out for you. It will. Nothing lasts forever. And again, we are chosen. So do not back down from a fight. Get in your prayer closet, be strengthened in your mind, and know that God's got you. Lesson number 11, in the midst of a trial, ask, what can I learn from this experience? So when you're going through these trials and these situations, ask God, what are you trying to teach me? Because not every trial that we go through is from Satan. It's not. God will allow us to go through things to learn something about it. And so if you find yourself going through this looping cycle and you're trying to figure out what is happening, why do I keep going through this? Maybe just ask yourself, is God trying to teach me something? Is that why I'm in this loop over and over again? Like for me, I know in the past, I would go through the same loops over and over and over again, especially when it came to men. But that's because I never learned my lesson, or I would know what to do and I would know how to not respond, or I would know who to not talk to. And I did it anyway, out of ignorance. And Satan thrives on ignorance. So I just want to share, like, every trial, there is something you can pull from it. When I tell you life has been very hard at the same time that it's been very good, like I had a concussion. My trunk fell on my head. Like what? Your trunk fell on your head and you got a concussion. You've been in so many fights in your life. Not proud of it, but I have. You've done so many things and you've never gotten a concussion before, not even in sports, but a trunk fell on your head. How did your trunk fall on your head, Michaela? Well, I was going to church and I hadn't gone in a few weeks. And so, look, I'm not perfect. I hadn't gone in a few weeks. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go today. It was raining. I pulled up the trunk. You know, I have a trunk that like stands firm. Like it doesn't just fall over. This is the first time ever that I put the trunk up and then it just randomly fell on my head. And I'm like, okay, Satan, I'm not playing with you. I'm still going to church. I went to church. And 2 days later, I realized, wow, like I really do have a concussion. And I wasn't able to work for 3 weeks. I went to the hospital. It was just like a whole thing. And I'm still feeling the effects 2 months later. And it's not like heavy effects, but the Lord do restore my head. I'll tell y'all. He restored my head. But there are like things that I still can't do 100%, like working out. So what my friend told me, he looked it up online for me and he said that sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just kind of like doing off and on working out, just seeing what helps me and whatnot. But that's what I'm saying. Like I had to ask myself, what can I learn from this? And what I learned is that I needed to rest. What I learned is that I was doing too much. I was striving. I was trying to check all the boxes. I was just trying to get to the promise faster by doing more work. And you can't do that. Lesson number 12, focus on his presence more than I focus on the promise. So through that situation, that's when I learned that focusing on his presence is way more important than the promise. Because when we focus so much on the promise, we're going to get there without his presence. And I would rather his presence than the promise, because if I get to the promise without his presence, I'm not going to be able to keep it. I could lose it. I could lose the exact thing that I worked so hard to get to because I didn't do it standing with God by my side. So that is why focusing on his presence in Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. That verse is just so powerful because it shows us what our priority should be. Our priority should be to seek the kingdom first. And so when we seek the kingdom first, we're seeking out his presence, and then just abiding in him throughout the day is something that I learned. And honestly, it's truly changed everything. Whenever I decided, okay, I'm done overworking, I'm just going to seek him and allow my body to recover, because I would try to make myself work by getting on my computer, but then I would have migraines and it just didn't turn out very well. And so sometimes you're stubborn and you got to learn the hard way. Lesson 13, a negative mindset is the product of perspective. So every single situation has a positive outcome and a negative outcome. The thing is, which one are you going to focus on? Are you going to focus on the possibility that it could work out? That's faith. Or are we going to focus on what could go wrong, which causes worry and anxiety? What will you choose? So that's the power of perspective. I have to be intentional and choose to be positive about a situation, although I also know it could go wrong. So it's just, what are you going to do? I'm going to focus on faith and knowing that even if that positive outcome doesn't work out, I know that God's got my back. I know that whatever the possible negative thing was, it worked for my good. God works all things for the good for those who love the Lord. Lesson number 14, be willing to make more mistakes. So we kind of talked about this earlier. Be willing to make mistakes. Fail forward. Fail faster. The more you fail, the more you try, the more lessons you learn, and the better you get. Like, period. Like, I don't even know what else more to say about it. You just got to show up. Your anxiety, which is not of God, your fear, which is not of God, your doubt, which is not of God, your distrust, which is not of God, is keeping you from failing. You don't even want to start because of the thought that you might fail. If you've been listening to this podcast for a very long time, you know that I have an episode, like probably one of the first 5, and it was the second episode, and I talked about the fact that I had the fear of success. And because I had the fear of success, I didn't do what I knew what I needed to do to help me get out of the situation. Sometimes we're so comfortable in uncomfortability that we sit in a situation knowing that if we could just allow ourselves to get uncomfortable, we will get more comfortable because we're already uncomfortable, because we're disguising that uncomfortability as comfortability, which is you're playing tricks on yourself. Like, for example, let's do weight loss. You're comfortable eating that unhealthy food, but you're uncomfortable with the way you feel, with the way you look, with how you're able to not go up the stairs without coming out of breath, the way you're not able to do a regular squat. Like, that's uncomfortable to you, but you will allow yourself to stay in that comfortability because of the uncomfortability of changing the way that you eat, which would then produce a different outcome, which would mean that you would be able to do that squat and feel good in your body and all the other things. Lesson 15, comparison is the thief of joy. When you compare yourself, your focus isn't on you and God. It's on somebody else and what God is doing with them. And we don't know what someone else is going through, what someone else has went through to get where they've gotten. We just don't know. Like, you may see pertaining to me, like, wow, she's doing so good. But you didn't see that just a month ago I had my concussion. I really didn't talk about it. You may see the harvest, but you don't see the seeds that I plant every day. You don't see the people that I go up to and pray at random times. You don't see the people that I send and give random journals to when I'm out and about. Like, I plant seeds. Like, I sow seeds all the time. And so you may look at me and say, wow, like, why can't I have that? Or she's just, it may not even be me. It may be someone else. Like, you just don't know what they do behind closed doors to see what they're getting. And it's like, you also don't see what I have to go through, all the hardships and the spiritual warfare that I have to go through on a daily basis to be where I'm at. And so you don't want to wish for what someone else has, because you may see the good side of everything and you may not see the tough side of stuff. And as someone who's a leader, as someone who ministers, as someone who just strives her best to walk in the goodness of the Lord by following the vision that he gave me, it's like I go through so many hardships. I am ripping things off of me every single day. Every single day. Literally, probably 5 months ago, I lived in fear and I didn't realize it. And so you just don't want to compare to someone else, because you truly don't know what they had to go through to get where they are, to even say, like, I wish that was me. Because, like, you may find out, be like, well, you could have that because I do not want to deal with that. Yeah, I tell y'all, it can be tough, but I wouldn't choose any other path than my own. And I know I've went through a lot of hard things, very hard things, but I wouldn't change it. I'm grateful for what I've gone through. Number 16, there are things God will limit your reach and capability to do on your own. This is so good. So there was at one point where I was able to do all these things, like posting content and going to work and doing stuff on my computer. I don't know. And then there was a moment when I wasn't able to. So God will allow you to do it on your own for so long until he requires more from you. And he's like, okay, you're not going to be able to do it on your own. You're not going to be able to get more followers by doing what you're already doing. Like, your plan that you've been doing on your own, it's not going to work no more. I have something else that I need from you and that I need you to do. And you can only get there by doing it with me. And so sometimes we'll bang our head so long until we're finally like, okay, God, whatever it is you want me to do, I'll do it. I'll do it. Number 17, set systems and shift your focus from the goal. So the system is the process, it's the journey, and the goal is the destination. So when we focus or hyper focus on the destination versus the actual process it takes to get there, we tend to sit in a failure mindset because we feel like we fail every day because we haven't reached that goal. So while it's good to have like a knowing of the destination of where you're going, you can focus on the input, aka what you do every day to move the needle forward. So for me, like, I know that God has huge plans for me and big visions and whatnot, and I know them in my mind, but my focus every day isn't, wow, I haven't spoke on a stage, like, the thing is, that's fine. Like, appreciate where you are in the process, and God will work with you. And the thing is, if you don't change the input, the output will stay the same. So I could say, oh my gosh, I'm not on stage. and then not do anything that would actually help me get there because I feel like a failure and then never get there. Instead, I'm like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be on stage. Well, I'm just focusing on what God's telling me to do in this moment. God told me to talk on camera. I'm talking on camera. This small thing could lead to another thing, which leads to me being on stage. I don't know how it's going to turn out. But the thing is, I'm showing up and I'm focused on what I can do now. Because if we don't focus on what we can do now, we will sit in that failure mindset, which causes you to feel discouraged. It causes you to not even want to work towards it, out of the fact that you know you're so far. But you honestly, if you really put your trust in God, you don't know how far you really are, because he can change everything in a moment. Lesson number 18. Ooh, your girl needs something to drink. Hold on. Lesson number 18. My character is always improving. And I say this because this year I really noticed that I struggled with selfishness. I struggled with allowing my emotions to lead me. And so when I've gone through trials or when a situation comes up and I'm like, wanting to respond a certain way, I really had to learn how to not act off my emotions and just be like, okay. Or just always feeling like I need to have something to say. Like I need to have the last word. Like I could know you're wrong. And this isn't just with anybody, like just people like really close to me. Like I could know that they're wrong about something and I just have to tell them. But it's like, Michaela, you didn't have to do that. Like, you know what I mean? And I feel like that roots from who I was in the world. In the world, I was always that person that told you about yourself. I was always that person who was like super blunt, didn't care, and I had to tell you what I felt. And so now, living life with the Lord, that's had to shed off of me, and I'm grateful that majority of it's gone. And I just have to remind myself and declare God's word over my heart, if I'm mine, and had to really be intentional about recognizing when I'm in those moments where my emotions are heightened, and just be aware of how to respond, or just don't respond at all. And so that's for sure something that I focused on. Lesson number 19. I am not defined by my situation, and I am not defined by what I do. This is so good. I am not defined by my situation, and I am not defined by what I do. So you could be going through something really hard right now. You're not defined by it. That's not who you are. You might have made a mistake. That's not who you are. It's not who you are. Your job that you're in, that's not who you are. You are a daughter of the Most High. You are special. You are amazing. You are built for this vision. You are the person who is trusting, who is becoming better every single day. But most importantly, you are a daughter. You are God's child. So what that means is we cannot attach ourselves to things or titles or just a job, because if we attach ourselves to it, we're going to lose it. Because when we attach ourselves to those things and it's gone, or we lose it, or it's removed from our life, then we get depressed. Then we get sad because we feel like, wow, the thing that I love so much is gone, and that became a part of your identity. Your job became a part of your identity. Your work became a part of your identity. Your thing, like the camera, for example, became a part of your identity. So when you lost it, you lost yourself. So the thing is, do not be fazed by what comes and goes in your life, because the only thing that is lasting is the Lord. So when we put our faith and our identity in Him, because it is, we are made in His image, that doesn't happen. And so if you find yourself this upcoming year and you're noticing that if you feel like your job title is just attached to you, if I went around and like, I'm a nurse. Like, I have to put the BS and RN after I write my name every single time because this is who I am. Let's say God tells me not to be a nurse anymore. Like, am I gonna feel destroyed and depressed because I'm not a nurse anymore? Like, I'm laughing because my situation is different because I'm like, Lord, when am I not gonna be? When am I not gonna be? But you get what I'm saying. I said it for the example. Lesson number 20, it won't always make sense. It won't. When I tell you this year, it didn't make sense. It didn't. It didn't make sense. And I wish someone told me this because God told me this is what I have for you. Like, you're going to be an entrepreneur. You're going to be on stages. You're going to be doing ministry. And at the beginning of the year, he goes, you need to go back to work as a nurse. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Why are you telling me to go back to work when this is what you called me to do? Like, it just didn't add up in my mind. And I was being so disobedient for so long that he was like getting my attention in so many other ways. And I finally was like, okay, I'll be obedient. I'll go. And first of all, I literally cried my eyes out because I didn't want to go to work as a nurse. And ended up working. And so actually working as a nurse, God has allowed me to learn so many different things. But the most amazing thing was that he set me up with a job as an education person. So like, I am a nurse educator. Now, God just be lining stuff up. He made me a nurse educator. He told me, I was prophesied to, like, you're going to be an educator. You're going to be blah, 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 blah. Like, okay. And then the job that he got me was an educator, which prepared me for what I'm doing right now. Because in that job, I have to talk in front of large crowds. I have to teach people practically how to do things. I have to learn how to be patient with someone when they're not understanding what I'm saying. Like, all of these things I'm able to use in my ministry, in the ministry that God's called me to. So it's just amazing that we just have to be obedient. It doesn't always have to make sense. We just have to know that he's got it figured out. And in the end, there will be a day when I am full-time entrepreneur. But at the moment, still, I'm working as a nurse and I just have to be okay with it. And what I'm doing is just moving in preparation, doing the things that I know he's called me to. Like I said, I try to, balance out my time. So on my days off, I'm setting up my day where I'm working on ministry. I'm working on Made by the Word business stuff. And then when I'm working. And when I get off, I make sure my hands aren't idle. Lesson number 21, having a mentor is vital. Having someone who can correct you. If I didn't have the support that I had around me this year, I would not be the person I am today. The people that I had closest to me were the people who helped strengthen me and helped me truly walk where God was calling me. They pulled things out of me. They told me when I was wrong. They corrected me when I thought I was right. And they didn't care how I felt about it. They were like, you got to be different. You got to change. You keep doing the same things and expecting a different result. And I'm trying to help you. And although in the moment it was really hard and it felt like, dang, I'm always doing something wrong. First of all, that's not true. That's the enemy trying to get there to be tension between me and the other person. But this person was just trying to help me. And this person did help me. Like, I am such a better person and such a better leader. And I have more of a servant's heart now because of all of the things that they told me about myself. And it's like, I'm just so grateful. And then also paying for a mentor. So let's say you don't have people around you. Pay for a mentor. I paid for a mentor. So Kaya, I paid to have her be my mentor. Because she's somewhere where I know that I want to be. So I want to learn from her. And with that, I was able to learn a lot of valuable tools that if I did it on my own, I would have taken me so much longer. So I value my time, which means I want to learn from someone who can teach me the right way to go about things. And so if you didn't know, I offer one-on-one mentorships now, and I love it. I've been working with people from all over the world. Like I work with two people that live in Canada actually. Majority of the things I do is focused on content creation for brands and creatives. And then I also do faith-based mentorship, which I just don't have it posted anywhere, but normally people message me, I'll send them the link to sign up. So I'll probably restart that since I'm restarting the podcast. Just as I get mentored, I mentor someone else. And just because I mentor someone else doesn't make me like higher. It doesn't make me be on another level. Like I still believe that there's so much I can learn from other people. And then it really helps to have that mentor to help you just be level-headed and someone you can run by when you're making decisions, or when you're like, hey, I really believe that the Lord said this. Like, what do you think the Lord's saying to you? Type of thing. Lesson 22. The thing I was terrified to do was the thing that I was anointed for. That is powerful. The thing that you were anointed to do is the thing you are anointed for. You can think back. Okay, I know how I'm going to explain this. Okay, so for example, with talking on camera, the enemy planted the terrified seed in my mind from the moment I was a child. So a lot of the things that you were called to do, the enemy will make a situation happen that plants fear in your heart now when you do the thing that you were actually born to do. So in my situation, I was terrified to be talking in front of people. And so I used to be on stages when I was younger. But it wasn't until I gained weight and people made fun of me, and it made me like just curl up and not want to I wanted to hide because I felt like I was already noticeable because I was bigger. They made fun of me because of my weight. And I learned like over time that the more time passed, the more afraid I became. And it's like, where did this come from? I used to be on stage all the time. I used to sing on stage. I used to act on stage. I used to dance on stage. Like over time, it just became such a huge fear that first of all, when the Lord told me to start the podcast, I was like, this is kind of crazy. Like, what? You want me to talk? Not even realizing that's what I was born to do. And then like God showing me that vision of me on stage and me being like, that's kind of crazy because that person that I saw had so much power. Like I literally don't feel anything like that. And so as time passing by, I kept feeling the Lord telling me to start practicing speaking. So I was like, how am I supposed to practice? Talk to the wall? Like I didn't know. It would just felt so weird. So what I would do is I would get my camera and just start it and put it at the side of my face while I was filming the podcast, just to like get myself used to setting the camera and just not even paying attention to it. And so I did that for a while, and then God was like, okay, you're gonna start a YouTube channel. I'm like, a YouTube channel? Talking in front of the camera? I don't know what it was but basically he had me start a YouTube channel. It's the same as my Instagram name. So it's called Michaela Inspires. I have so many videos on there. It's a different style than podcast, but I really do think you'll love it. There's vlogs, there's teachings, it's a bunch of different stuff. But anyways, he had me start being on my YouTube. And when I was talking over there, I got really comfortable. And that's when God was like, okay, so now that you're doing what I called you to do, I didn't tell you to stop doing what I first called you to, aka the podcast. So here I am. But all of these things led to this exact moment of doing the thing that I was anointed to do. And there's still so much more time that I don't know what's going to happen, that the Lord's going to do with it. And you're still here listening. You're the best. I love you so much. But lesson 23, reflection is an important part of growth. So if you're just living out your day-to-day life, not even reflecting on what worked, what didn't work, then it's hard to actually move forward. And I know this because there was a point in time where I tracked absolutely everything. Like right after I went through domestic violence and God saved me, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna figure out, I'm gonna write down what went well this past week, what didn't, so I know what to do next week. And like I was just so on top of it because I was like, I am not living in this dread any longer. And then I kind of got comfortable, and then I started to not write in my journal. I started to not reflect, and you could tell that because I wasn't intentional with my reflection, the growth was still there, but it just wasn't where it could have been. So I just highly encourage you to reflect. It doesn't have to be in a journal, but just reflect on your month. Like at the end of the month, just be like, okay, what went well this past month? What didn't? What can I do to make next month better? Lesson 24. I can't do anything without him. Not my business, not my life, absolutely nothing. This lesson reminds me of John 15:4. Remain in me and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine. And you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. That means, well, we're not connected to the source, just like a tree. A tree is not connected to the source. It is hard to actually produce fruit. Something that not just you benefit from, but something that other people can benefit from. So as you move forward in this upcoming year, I just encourage you to bring him into your life. Like it doesn't have to be exclusive to your prayer closet. It doesn't have to be exclusive to sitting on your couch, reading your Bible and praying there. You can involve him in your day-to-day, whether that's driving in your car, listening to worship music. Maybe you're walking through the mall and you're just talking to him and asking the Lord, which purse should I pick? It's in those small ways that we build the habit of truly abiding in him. And that's something that if someone would have told me this year, I really believe like things just could have been more whole within my heart. And so what I really prioritize is including him in my day and not doing things as a checklist, like not striving, like not feeling like I have to work for it. But I just know that it's freely given to me. His love is freely given to me. His presence is freely given to me, and I can access it at any moment I want. I just have to be intentional about seeking that. And something else that I found is like in moments when I feel uncertain or I just feel something's like off, like my heart is like hurting about something, and my first response is to seek his presence, whether that's journaling, praying, talking, worshiping, praising, whatever it is. I know like that's what I need to do, and that's just like shifted everything. Okay, I know this is long, but this is the last one. This is a bonus. Lesson 25. My business is as good as I am. So if I'm not taking care of myself, I will burn out. If I'm not reading the word, I will burn out. And for those of you who want a business one day, who aspire to be an entrepreneur, who aspire to be a creator or whatever it is that you want to be, if you're not taking care of yourself first, your business cannot sustain. Your business is as good as you are. So if you're unhealthy, the business is unhealthy. You want to lead your business in purity and not in dysfunction. So I really encourage you to pray and ask the Lord, like, what dysfunction am I carrying in my life that is translating in my business? And for me, it was my health. I wasn't taking care of my health. And because I wasn't taking care of my health, it was hard to keep up with my business. And I was, in return, keeping up with it, but it was leading me to destruction because I wasn't right here and I wasn't right here. Well, I pray that this very in-depth and super long episode helped you, that you really take it to heart, and maybe you need to go back and re-listen, take some notes. Like maybe you're driving in your car or listening while you're in the shower, whatever you're doing. I just These are some really important lessons that I wish I knew at the beginning of the year. And I really pray that as you move into this new year, you move with intention, you move with purpose, you move knowing that you are not in this by yourself and that you are capable of doing what God called you to do. Whatever it is, whatever you're fearful about, whatever you don't want to do just because you are afraid of what could actually happen, I challenge you to go for it. I challenge you to do it and go full force, knowing that God's got your back. Because if you're sitting and wondering, why is my life not changing? Maybe it's because God told you to do something and you don't want to do it, or you're neglecting to do it, or you're procrastinating in doing it, or maybe you said yes and then after a while you stop doing it. Like, there is some powerful transformation in what God's trying to do in your life in that yes. So I love you, and I'm so excited to be back. I'm so excited to be here, and it just feels different. I'm a different person. I am such a different person from the past 2 years. This podcast has been here for 2 years now, which is amazing. I didn't even celebrate it and I forgot. But that's been 2 years. And I'm making this episode a part of season 2. Season 3 will start next year, which is next week. And so I'm really just thankful and excited that we are on this journey together, that I'm not alone, that you're not alone. And I just have some exciting things coming this year. And so many of you guys have been asking me for merch for so long. So I'm going to take that seriously and give you what you want. So you get it together. Like, you let me know and tell me what type of clothes you're thinking of. Of course, I don't want it to be like the basic Jesus style clothes, which I still love those. Like, I really do. I feel like anything with Jesus' name on it, I'll wear it. But I just want it to be different, and I want it to be edgy and just dope. Like a dope shirt anybody would wear, you know what I mean? But I love you. I really, really do. And if you need a tool for your journey on your day-to-day in 2025, make sure to grab the Best Belief Journal. It is going to help you. It is named after this podcast. Because best believe you're going to get there, and best believe we are in this together. If this blessed you in any way, I pray that you share it with a friend, because if they need this and it helped you, why not spread the love? That is how this podcast gets, seen by other people. That's how they push it out, is by knowing that other people are sharing it. And if this truly made an impact on you, I pray that you leave a 5-star review. I would love to read it, and I love seeing all of your responses and comments. It just makes me so happy. So I love you. I'm going to drop all these resources in the description for the journals, for the episode that I mentioned, for the YouTube channel, for Made by the Word website, everything. So I got you. Thank you for being here with me today. I know it was a long episode, but honestly, I don't mind it if you don't mind it. And just know that there are so many exciting things coming with this podcast. Like, I know in the past I did a bunch of mixed episodes. So like, I would make one an hour, one was 30 minutes, one was 15, one was 5. I love doing that because you get to decide, like, okay, I only have 15 minutes to listen to something right now. I'm going to listen to this. So I really love the range of things. But anyways, I just hope that you see a change in me, because I feel it. I really do. So anyway, love you. Bye.